Well, guys, thank you so much for jumping on the very first episode of RC Show, Randall and Chen's podcast. The very first episode. This is Randall. I'm Chen.
Hey.
Yes. So Randall and I came up with this idea together to use this platform to talk a little bit about business mindsets, entrepreneurial mindsets, different things like that. So it was more of his idea, wanting to do this. So we're gonna kick this whole thing off to talk about mindsets, and different things. Go ahead, Randall. Go ahead. No, it's fine. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, what we're looking for is we're looking to help pass on some of the knowledge that we've gained in our respective businesses that we've done, and hopefully try to pass some of this knowledge on to some younger entrepreneurs or people looking to get into business for themselves. And we're hoping that we can help by sharing some of the stuff that we've went through, that we can actually help you excel faster in your business growth. And I think between the both of us, we've got a lot of years of experience.
10 years under my belt.
10 years.
20.
Well, I've got 23 years in my field, but I've got 15 years as a business owner.
Wow.
And so yeah, we thought we'd like to share some of our knowledge with you guys, and we hope that you enjoy some of the stuff that we're bringing out to you today.
Sounds good. Well, let's dive right into it. Randall, why don't you introduce yourself a little bit real quick?
Sure. My name's Randall Blackwell, and I run a carpet and air duct cleaning company, or I'm the owner of one in the Topeka area, and we've been in business for 15 years, and we are steadily growing. I think that we actually have more reviews than any other carpet cleaning company in our area.
400 plus, I think, right? Am I right?
I think on Google we're about almost to 700. And then on Facebook, of course, Facebook used to have a number count with 5-star reviews. And when they changed that over, I think we were over 300 on there at that point. But so between both of them, I know we've got over 800 5-star reviews for our company.
Yes, Dr. Clean is the company.
Yes, so, Dr. Clean.
Yes. So
the doctor that still makes house calls.
That's awesome. Remember that tagline. So my name is Chen Liang, and I'm a residential real estate agent here in Topeka, one of the top real estate agents here in town. So I own my own real estate business here. Been doing real estate for a decade. I've sold a little over almost $100 million worth of real estate. So I have some stuff under my belt, and that's our credentials. So we just wanted to use this platform to pay it forward, whoever wants to get into the business ownership and wanting to be an entrepreneur. So hopefully some of the pieces business we'll share here, you guys will find it very useful. Randall, I guess I'm going to kick it off by asking you the very first question.
Okay,
share us your story about this mindset shift, going from being an employee to the business owner.
Sure. That's a huge it's a very unnerving thing when you really get into it. When you first start, you're thinking, man, I'm going to go out, I'm going to do my own thing, I'm going to be my own boss. I've got the world by, I've got the world by
by its neck,
whatever it is. But you're just super excited. You're trying to tell everybody, hey, I'm starting my own company, blah blah blah, and then reality starts sinking in. It's like,
yeah,
I've got to get jobs, I've got to get clients, and all these different things.
Equipment, all that stuff too, right?
Yes. There's a lot there. So the responsibility. So when you're just an employee, and there's a lot of safety knowing that you show up to work, you do your 8 to 5, and you get your paycheck at the end of the week or every 2 weeks, however that works, and you take care of your family that way. But once you're a business owner, then all of a sudden you have to do what you got to do to take care of your family. You got to pound the pavement, and so there's a huge responsibility there that wasn't there at first, and that can be a little bit intimidating at first, but I think the rewards far as supersede like any of the. There's no negatives to it. It's just about changing that mindset.
Yes,
and then just some of those risks that you end up taking is now all of a sudden, it's your responsibility to make sure the insurance is getting paid, and your responsibility that you're showing up to the jobs or getting the leads for your company and things of that nature. But did you have any experiences like that with real estate?
I feel like my experience was very similar because when I first became the owner of my own company, I wasn't aware that, hey, look, I'm actually now the owner of the business, right? Because I kind of just started off doing something different. Like a lot of people start doing, okay, I'm going to go on and do this thing. I didn't even know too much about what exactly a business meant,
Sure.
you know? So, but as you go on, you start learning different things where I realized, look, I'm going to be wearing multiple hats to do all these things in order to sustain this business.
Sure.
Um, I guess I had to just it wasn't a process where it just came together all at once. It came together over I have to say maybe 2, 3 year period. All the pieces come together, taxes, how to lead generate, how to take care of your customers, different system you have to set up, equipment, all of that stuff. And then just one day everything came together. Be like, hey, I'm actually a business owner. I'm taking care of all these pieces.
Sure. Sure. It you went a lot faster than I did because I was so involved with trying to go out and do the day-to-day, the daily jobs that would come in. I didn't have a whole lot of time to really focus in on that. And that's, something that I want to be straight up with everybody is actually, I have a business partner.
Hmm.
So some of the things that you probably dealt with right at the start, I had to help in that area.
Right.
So I was actually able, we kind of split tasks a little bit, if you will. So while he was figuring the the more the business side out, I was actually trying to figure out more of the technical side out. I basically started myself a new job.
Sure. I understand that.
So
What was like one story that from the get-go that still comes to mind when you think about, hey, I just became a business owner? Was there a defining story that you can think of right
I
now?
mean, really for me was the very first job that I did. When I first had my van built, so with carpet cleaning, you have these machines installed into to a van, and it's a lot of expensive equipment. And I showed up on my very first job, and one of the pieces of equipment was broken from the factory.
That you did not know.
I didn't know I was trying it out for the first time. And it was a friend of mine, so they were pretty gracious with me, but it was like that moment was like, oh, I gotta get this figured out.
Right.
So yeah, that was a very big aha moment for me. Is like, I gotta make sure that everything's tip top shape. And I thought it was coming brand new, if you get what I'm saying. It was just a fitting that was big.
Sure,
So it
sure.
wasn't that big of a deal, but still, when you're first going, you're on your very first job, and all of a sudden equipment's not running the way that you planned it to work, and that's the way it goes sometimes.
100%. Look, well, let's get into this next one. I think so. As a business owner, you of course you went from the very first job to now you have hundreds of jobs under your belt. How did you come to the conclusion, or what was that aha moment where you feel like, hey, continuous educating, investing yourself, learning was a necessity, and it was a very important thing. So when did you realize that was a thing?
Sure. So for me, it was I've always dove into what I do. And I feel like there's a lot of folks out there that are so dedicated to what they do that they're soaking up everything about the technical side of their jobs,
Hmm.
right? And I was on an online forum, and somebody had put a post on there about a book that they recommended people to read. And the book was The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber.
Hmm.
And that book changed my life because what I was like, hey, I'll read the book. I don't care. So I get this book, and all of a sudden it's like, this book is me.
Hmm.
Like this guy's writing about my life. And that changed my whole perception on everything. I read that book. I don't even know how many times I've read that book, probably 15 or 20 times by this point. And then that's where my education journey started when it comes to business ownership. And I have not looked back since. I mean, there are so many fantastic books out there and opportunities to learn. And not only books, but there's also great podcasts. That's why we're trying to put this one out. But then there's also seminars you can attend. I mean, was there a point in your career where that was?
I think you brought up a really good point. I mean, for us, because I'm always around top real estate agents in the office. So I feel like that has always been a big privilege and honor for me to see how other people are, I wouldn't say fighting to get to the top. It's more like how they're striving to be the very best. Because you
Sure.
can just feel that competitive air and atmosphere that in our office here, for real estate itself, it has always been very competitive. I think for the cleaning industry is the same.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody wants to be the best. And then I used to be a very competitive person, but after I got into the business, I became even more of a competitive person or business owner. And then just if I came across something that I don't understand that is related to my business or is even remotely related to my business, I want to find out.
Sure.
I want to find out. Start from Robert Kiyosaki's book, like Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Mhm.
because I wasn't a business owner. So a lot of the stuff, was way over my head, like taxes, you got to file every quarter. Not just like, hey, you just go pay taxes. Because I remember back in the day when I was working for somebody else, you would just go into HR block, right? Sit down with a lady, you just kind of fill out your stuff and they call it good.
Yeah, those
That
were
was
good days.
that was the good old days, So there was that, and then from his books and to different people's books, Tony Robbins, different social influencers, they would have spit out different pieces of information, financial advising, wealth building, different things, but they were all correlated to what I do.
Sure.
So that kind of the curiosity just kept it growing, and then the curiosity kind of brought in more, more learning.
Yeah.
As a whole.
And sometimes what I've found is that sometimes books beget books.
Yes.
Like you're reading a book and then the author of that book's mentioning books that helped him out. And then all of a sudden you want to go read those books, and it's just a never ending cycle of reading and learning. And I actually really enjoy it at this point.
Right. Like, I'm assuming that your industry has evolved big time over the past 10 years, right? Even the
Sure.
past 5 years. Great example. I remember you telling me that technology has evolved big time in your industry. Different things will come out. Same thing for real estate. What was that one moment that just in the recent past, Randall, that's something that you had to do to adapt to a different technology? Can you tell us a story?
Yeah, marketing.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Marketing is just one of those things. And I think this is going to be across the board for anybody starting business. And, it used to be you go out, you pound the pavement, you put door hangers out, you get ads going through the mail,
Signs and stuff, right?
signs in the yard. All those forms of advertising are great.
Yeah.
But you're going to get more reach now through online platforms, Facebook, Google Ads, Yelp. There's so many different avenues now for online marketing because everybody has a device now. And that has been a huge game changer as far as getting your name out. But the other thing is, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, doing a great job for your clients and trying to get those 5-star reviews. 5-star reviews are where it's at.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying. Because got 700 of those.
that has been the biggest game changer for us. And there's some really neat ways of being able to get creative with asking clients, hey, would you mind leaving us a review? Things of that nature. And you can't be afraid to do that.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, oh, I don't want to ask a customer. But you got to get over that. You got to get over yourself. And sometimes you got to be a little bit open. So.
Right. I think the only time that you're afraid of asking that is you feel like you did a horrible job.
I've never done that.
There you go. See, so you if you stand behind your work, it wouldn't be a difficult thing to. I think this is something we're kind of talking about. Mindset change. Got to get over that hurdle. Once you've done it one time, the second time, third time would be really easy to do. Well, Randall, I've known you for quite some time, and then I've always noticed that you are a self-motivator. And is there something that you were just naturally born this way, or there's some exercise that you do to kind of keep yourself going at all times?
Well, I think that's a fantastic question.
Yeah, that's what I'm asking you. I'm not motivated at all times. I'm just saying, I think.
See, I would disagree because I see a lot of the things you do, and I think, man, this guy's super motivated. I wish I could be more like him.
So, thank you for the compliment.
I think that a lot of it comes down to when you make a decision or you make a commitment, you just got to stick with it. Consistency is the key, and if you're struggling in self-motivation or the discipline to get things done, maybe you're trying to bite off more than you can chew at one time. Uh, Darren Hardy wrote a fantastic book called The Compound Effect.
Yeah.
And he talks about, you track the things that you're doing and you start off with bite-sized pieces and you just stay consistently with that. And over time, you're going to find that the things that you used to think were big hurdles to overcome are the super easy things to do now. And then you're on to something else at that point. But I think that as an entrepreneur, I think anybody that has the gall to actually start a business, you would hope that they're going to be a self-motivated individual.
Right.
I mean, that really comes with the description of being an entrepreneur in my book. What do you think?
I mean, the thing is, I think me and Randall, you've been doing this for 15 years, going on 20 years, and I've been doing this for 10 years. And when I first started, nobody ever told me the numbers, right? Nobody told me, okay, you got to do this and this and this to be successful. We basically just blindly went straight into it.
Sure.
I think, I don't know if about your story. I think it sounded like we shared a long time ago. You just basically just dove into it. You did without thinking too much of it.
Yeah.
Am I right? Or that was pretty much your
Well,
experience?
it helped me having a business partner
Okay.
in that aspect because I was really able to focus on the technical side of the job where he, at the very start on the onset, he was more focused on getting the LLC in place and making sure the insurance and so there was a little bit of there was some time there where I was more or less the sweat, if you get what I'm saying.
Yes, you put a lot of the muscle into the business. I mean, for me, it's just I think resilience came into play big time for when it comes to business, because later on I learned the numbers. They say that most businesses don't succeed or fail in the first 5 years.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I feel like, to be honest with you guys, I feel like I'm failing every single day. I have just to pick myself back up. So I'm assuming you have a ton of the experiences that you can tell or stories. I'll love to hear one of those stories where you picked yourself back up.
Sure.
Let's I would like to hear one. Let's say, for example, you're on a job site, whatever, something didn't go right, or one of the employees didn't perform, whatever. Share a story with us. How did you pick yourself back up?
So, I mean, when you're operating a business, there at any time anything can go wrong. Especially
that's a fun part. Right?
Exactly.
That's a fun part. How you look at it. How you look at it is fun.
And so, it could be a machine breaking down, or, for example, in that first job that I did where the wand wasn't working properly. I mean, that's a pretty integral part of the machine, having the actual wand that you're cleaning with was not working. It was just leaking water all over the floor. So, you basically, you just got to kind of grit your teeth and keep going. There have been days where I don't want to get out of bed in the morning. You get what I'm saying? Like, you really do. I mean, I wish I could just go back and go
every
work
morning. Every morning, including this morning.
You just want to go back and do your old job and just worry about doing your tickets for the day or servicing those clients for the day. And then on the weekend, you can forget about it and then start over on Monday. And as an entrepreneur, as far as if you're actively working on growing your company, those days are gone. And so your constant mindset, I think, at this point has to be long-term goals. And you got to have a vision for yourself. Where do you want to be in 10 years? Where do you want to be 5 years from now? Where do you want to be 6 months from now?
Right.
And so you got to set those goals and then you just start striving for those down the road, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, it's like, do I want to buy a new car in 2 years? Or whatever the case is. It doesn't even have to be a car. It can just be whatever. Do you want to go on a vacation with your family? So you set that goal for yourself, and that's what you're working for. And that's the drive that gets you up every day. Do you love what you do?
Yeah.
Do you enjoy going out and meeting new people and doing those things? There's just so many different things that you got to find the things that motivate you personally, because that can be different for anybody.
Right.
100%.
I think you just hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's just one of those things. No matter what business you're going to start or you're running, if you're at a stage where, hey, you feel you're stagnant, or you feel like you're not achieving your goals if you didn't have a goal to begin with. So you should really go back and see what you want to achieve. Not so much like might not be 5 years, maybe just this year.
Yeah.
At the end of this year, what do you want to try to do? And then you break it down into baby steps. And then that would take less resilience to conquer or accomplish these baby steps versus you have this audacious goal sitting
Sure.
right in front of you, like when you just start out, because there's so many more pieces would come into play. I mean, because I know right now, recently we've had a lot of talks. I mean, like you had an equipment breakdown recently, like you had a van that just was in service for almost a week.
About, well, 7 business days.
7 business days.
Which
So
is a long time.
it's a long time for
Yeah.
something to be out of commission. How did you what, like, tap into that story a little bit? What did you
Sure.
do exactly to reschedule, to adapt, to kind of, how did you deal with that situation for the most part?
So my mindset is that my clients, they take off work, they get their houses all ready to go. So the last thing I want to do is have to reschedule. Now, there are times where you have to reschedule.
Tough calls, right?
Yeah.
Those are going to be the tough calls.
But my company right now, it's basically, we've got 4 vans, but we basically run 3 carpet trucks. So what I basically did is I took the 3 days, I combined them down into 2 days, and I just squeezed the days. And I tried to make it to where some smaller, like, I tried to even out the jobs so that one guy wasn't getting all these big jobs and he wasn't able to stay, do quality work and get through everything. And then I was able to reschedule a couple what I would call non-important. They're all important jobs, right? But they weren't like pressing jobs. For example, it was an empty unit. Somebody was going to be moving in at the end of the week. Hey, can I push that over to tomorrow? Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Communication,
Right.
But yeah, that when you go into things like that, you stress on it. But 5 years ago, I would have stressed a lot worse than I do now because one of the things I've really been trying to focus on is trying not to stress out on the things that you can't control. We do try to be diligent with our service on our vehicles and our vans and our carpet machines. And the nature of machinery is sometimes it just breaks. And no amount of service is going to stop a fuel pump from quitting working or whatever the case is. And then sometimes these mechanics, they're trying to figure out, okay, we got some kind of weird issue. We can't figure out what it is.
Right.
And let's try this, that, and the other. And sometimes it feels like we're throwing parts at it. But when you've got intermittent things going on, you just kind of like leave it in God's hands at this point, and you're just trying to make sure that the work that or the ones that you have are running. Because the last thing you want to do is have another one break down on top of that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, right now, I think you're really good at it. Just kind of make the most out of the current situations.
Oh, you have to.
Yeah.
I
think communication is awesome. I've always had a really good communication with Randall. He's done stuff for me, my clients. It's always really, really good. I mean, communication is the most important thing because things are going to happen, and how you relay those things to your clients and customers, business partners, would mean a lot more to customers versus you just kind of like flat out not responding calls.
Or not show up.
Or anything happen. So I know a lot of business professionals would do that. Depends on the field that you might be able to be sustainable by doing that because your field is very, on high demand, but there's got to be a point where people would be fed up with that. And then next person can really take over that place, I think that's really good. Let's move on to the next one. I hope you guys are really enjoying this show. So we're have some talking points here. We're going to talk about the vision and long-term thinking as well, big picture, strategic planning. How do you usually set goals with your employees? Like with your workers each year? Tell us about that process, how it goes.
So we do an end of the year employee performance review. And then I ask the guys, I'm like, so is there anything over the next year you'd like to accomplish as far as, is there another service that you'd like to learn how to do? Or is there any kind of extra training that you'd like me to look into getting for you? And then we actually set goals for our technicians as far as performance goals. And we try to set them to where they're achievable, but I want the guys to have to reach for them a little bit. If you get what I'm saying, because if you set the bar too low, then You
There's no
know,
challenge.
there's no challenge. So I want to challenge the guys. But that being said, we actually as a company, we set goals for ourselves too. So, you know, the partners in our company, you know, we set goals for each of us that we try to attain over the year. And then at the end of the year, we look at it and, hey, did we hit our goal? Did we not hit our goal?
Mhm.
You know, is there some tweaking we can do here and there? So yeah, I think that, I think that's crucial to, if you want to run a successful business, you got to challenge yourself and you got to have goals.
Absolutely.
Do you got goals for what you try to get?
Yeah, I mean that's a thing. You know, I have each year I would at the end of each year, I would erase my entire goal board to start fresh.
Okay,
You
sure,
know, so I track pretty much everything. I track my appointments, my closings, contracts. I track pretty much all my activities. And I will have, as soon as I go into my office, I will see this goal board in front of me, like how many things I need to hit. I don't ever worry about that big goal, like how much you need to hit at the end of the year. I look at, okay, today, these are my tasks.
sure,
I look at these, I need to talk to this many people, I need to do that stuff. And then most of the time it takes care of, and all the actions will take care of all your end of the year goal. So
sure.
that's kind of what I've been doing. Strategic planning, I think it's something that I've done a lot. And Randall, I'm assuming you have to do that as well, because as things come up, I remember you telling me that you had to invest into a big van, right? A
Oh
van
yeah,
this year,
yeah.
you
Well,
know,
that was last year.
that was last year. So I mean that would have been a huge investment, you
Yeah,
know, coming in. So a lot of times we have to do that to move things around as well. That kind of ties into financial literacy and the business planning, you know, money part of it. So do you kind of and your business partner kind of always sit down and look at the financial goals, you know,
sure.
kind of how do you allocate funds and stuff? How do you balance that kind of, how do you handle that type of stress? I would say, because it's different stress.
Well, it is a different stress, and so the number one thing I would say, and I think a lot of like small businesses can get themselves in a jam like this is, especially if you're like a sole proprietor,
Mm-hmm. One man
is
show for
a
the most part.
one man show is that they they live their life out of the company bank account. You
Mm,
get what I'm saying?
yes.
So you gotta be realistic. You know, everybody wants to have that big fat bank account, right? But you should separate like what you're doing for yourself from your company.
Business 101 though, right? This is the business one. You gotta have you have to
Exactly.
have two accounts.
You gotta have two accounts. And then the other thing is, or at least what me and Dave have done is we actually, um, you know, we have limits. Like we don't want to go below this limit because we want to have an emergency fund in place. Um, you know, we want to be able to be, if something breaks down, be able to go get it fixed. We want to make sure we're hitting our payroll. I mean, there's just so many things there that we have to be in constant communication about as the business owners, and we don't want to stress our technicians out. You
Hmm.
get what I'm saying?
Yes.
So you don't want to bring, if let's just say that you are stressing out a little bit. Let's just say it's been a rough week or a rough month, and you are dipping down into that emergency fund a little bit.
Yeah.
Uh, you know, don't bring those conversations to your employees. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to stress them
So
out.
they should never be part of that.
I don't know. I mean, I want them to enjoy their job. I don't
Yeah.
want them having any extra stress
No,
in
I
the
agree
back of
with
their
you
mind.
because I feel like they're not in an ownership position. I don't feel
Exactly.
like they shouldn't know that.
Sure. But if you're doing things, you know, sometimes you got to buckle down. I mean,
Yeah. Oh
there's
yeah.
a time where you got to tighten the purse strings a little bit. And but when it comes to when you make those big investments into your company, you know, there have been times where it's like, man, I want to go buy this new piece of equipment so I can start doing this service or whatnot. And it might be the middle of winter time, if you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And financially, it may not be the best time to go make a $7,000 or $8,000 purchase for a piece of equipment. And I think that, you know, being able to be a little bit grounded, and then, you know, you start setting a goal for that piece of equipment. Like,
That's
I want
right.
to get that thing in the next 3 to 4 months.
That's right.
And then that gives you time to start really doing some education on what you're going to do with it, how you're going to present it to your clients, how you can do that. And it gives you actual time to get ready for that piece of equipment so that when you do get it, you're hitting the ground running with it instead of, having a piece of equipment sitting in your shop that you haven't used in a long time, and I'm guilty. I've done that.
Yeah. I mean, that's a really good piece of advice, Randall, because what you just spit out, I mean, that was just amazing. You know, when it comes to investing and spending your company money in a direction where just on the spot versus you give it time, which you can think about it, and then preparing for that investment, and
Sure.
then see what kind of return that would yield. It's a great thing because a lot of times, like for us human beings, we like to chase shiny objects, right? We have
Yep.
this thing come out, let's say,
Yep.
especially in real estate, right? You have this thing come out, this thing out, different technology come out, want to spend this, want to spend that, without fully analyze the situation. Boom. Because once you spend that money, the money is gone.
Yep.
If it was not a good investment, you're not going to get the money back.
And I do credit my business partner helps keep me a little bit grounded
Mhm.
because you don't always have to have the newest and best and the shiniest piece of equipment. If this reminds me, I was doing a patch on a carpet this morning
Right.
for a client, and I just have a cheap iron, just an iron, and they're cheap.
Mm-hmm.
And we were talking about this, like, man, I got that same iron. And I was like, yeah, well, it works. And then I was talking to him, I was like, they've actually got microwave irons now that, they actually can melt the tape under the carpet through microwaves.
Wow.
And you don't have to worry about burning the carpet or things of that nature. And he's like, man, I bet that would be a nice one. I was like, yeah, it's like a $600 iron.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, imagine if I was an installer, that would be a great tool. But when you do a patch here and there or some repairs,
Mhm.
why go buy nice shiny iron when old Betsy's been working good for you?
100%. I mean, that's 100%. It just a lot of times, when it comes to us small business owners, for these situations, we really have to take our time to analyze instead of making irrational decisions on the spot.
Sure.
I think if you guys are starting a business, wanting to get onto the next level, you want to, if you don't have the capability of making a decision or judgment on your own, don't be afraid of, to reach out to the people you trust, because that could be
Yeah.
a lot of those moments. Let's $6,000. Let's, for example, $6,000 could really break a bank.
Oh yeah, it can for some folks,
For some folks, they can really break a bank,
especially when you're first starting out.
Well, yeah, especially, depends on if you can recoup that or not. Randall, I know you've been running this for 15 years. You lead a really good team.
Yes.
I got to ask you this question, but how do you keep those guys encouraged? Because you encourage yourself is hard enough, right?
Yes.
I mean, sound like it's pretty difficult to get yourself out of bed.
No, I'm an early riser, man. I don't have no problem. I love what I do.
Because leading people is different art.
That is different. And so I would say the first 8 or 9 years of our company, it was just me on a van.
Right.
And then in our super, super busy time, we'd bring in a helper for a week or so. But then once we started adding employees, that was just another one of those mindset shifts that you got to go through. It's like, wow, now I've got to talk with this guy or gal or whoever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And what I have found is that everybody's different.
Yeah, very different.
And
like very different.
Very different. And so what might motivate one person, the next one, that doesn't motivate them at all.
Yeah.
Some people want to be encouraged to say, hey, good job today.
Yeah.
Whereas you might have somebody else that's like, hey, I'm more motivated by getting a bonus when I'm doing great work. Or some people just want to get that acknowledgement. I had a technician one time tell me that just getting a business card just meant the world to him.
Like from the customers?
Well, like having his own business card with his name on it. You know what I'm
Oh.
saying? So I was like, okay, I get you. I mean, do you remember the first time you had a business card that made you feel good?
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes you just kind of take that stuff for granted. And then he's like, yeah, I just wanted to have my own business card. I was like, no problem, I got you.
Right. So I'm assuming you have that process where asking people questions to kind of go through that, right? To find out what their motivation points are.
You kind of learn it as you go. You kind of pick up things as you go. You start noticing like, hey, this isn't really working with this guy or vice versa. And then you just start figuring out how to keep your guys going. I mean, if I had it perfected, I'd be a multimillionaire. I don't have that. I don't have the art of that perfected, but I'm definitely learning. And that definitely is a mindset change.
I don't think there is a perfection to that thing at all. I mean, because it's constantly evolving, because you might have different employees.
Sure.
They might come and go, right? And then that chemistry will change, culture will change, and that thing is constantly evolving. And
they will change too.
Yes.
So
things might happen.
If you got a young technician let's just say you get somebody right out of high school, or maybe they're in high school and they work for you in the summer.
Yeah.
And then they're going to college. And then let's say they get married.
Yeah.
So you've got different phases in their life. So they're changing as people also. Their needs change. And sometimes you got to kind of think through that stuff a little bit.
100%, 100%. I think you have been a great leader for your organization. So from 700 5-star reviews, you got to be doing something right. I mean, if you guys want to jump out and say no to that, I mean, you can't more than welcome. 700 5-star reviews. How do you keep the customers happy? I have to ask you this question.
Sure. Well, the way that we do it at our company is I live, sleep, drink, eat customer service. When I go to a job, I want that customer to feel like that was the best service I've ever had in my house. That is what that's the goal that I have envisioned for Dr. Clean, is that, and anybody can think about any type of service that they've got, whether you were at a restaurant or, you had an electrician out to your house, or whatever the case is. Just think back to the last time somebody was out at your house and they were like, man, that guy was just on top of his game. I want every customer to feel that every time that one of our guys are out in their house.
That's awesome. So how do you translate that through your technicians? So you don't have to tap into your business secrets.
Training.
So share one piece with me. For example, while you came out to my house, I wasn't there. Randall's technicians came out to my house. So what stuff would they do?
It's the small details.
For example.
Man, I don't want to give out all my secrets.
No, you're not. Not even. It's just one piece. One piece.
Well, okay. So let's just say, for example, that you're in a customer's home.
Yep.
You're in their home. That's not your home.
Right.
So we want to do everything that we can to protect their home. So, for example, let's just say that they got a wood floor that was just redone, but you're going to go clean a carpet in another area of the house, but you've got to take your equipment across that floor.
Okay.
Put tarps down.
Dang it.
Put little corner guards up. Put little booties on your shoes. Show that client that, hey, I respect your home. I'm not going to go barefoot in your home. There are times where clients be like, hey, would you mind taking your shoes off? It's like, well, I don't want to walk around on wet carpet. I got booties. I'll put those on. But I already show up with them in my hand already. It's those operating
Small
procedures,
details.
those things. It's the small details. I think small details go a long way.
Right. Wow.
And I'm sure you do too with your clients, because I mean, I've seen some of the stuff. I've read reviews of your company, and it's the attention to detail that you give your clients that really sets them apart as well.
I think so. Because right now you that's something just phenomenal. You have your different process, you're helping me learn a little more about your process and how you do your stuff. At the same time, I try to pay attention to all those details as well, needs for my clients, because a lot of times when you go through a real estate transaction, that the people are going through a very big emotional roller coaster.
Sure.
Because you have hundreds of thousands of dollars on the line, different things might come up. I just try to kind of pick up little hints here and there. Of course, all the details for the property as well. So we got all that stuff taken care of. Just details from, okay, people might get cold feet during the process.
Mhm.
Then that would have just only leave me two choices. Either I help them push through it, or they got to the point where I should back off. I should support them on their emotional journey. The reason I just had one, the person halfway into the process didn't think the purchase was the best idea.
Sure.
Then I will have to be the person to get behind that idea and then deliver the bad news to everybody else involved in the transaction.
That's tough.
I had to go through. The first time it came around, it was the end of the world.
Mhm.
Assuming the first time you went through some equipment breakdown, it was the end of the world as well. It's kind of,
It
that's how you
seemed
felt.
like it,
Seemed
but-
like it, but over time, your mindset gets stronger.
Sure.
As you go through that stuff, you go stronger. I'm not saying that I don't want anybody to go through this type of stuff, but ultimately, by going through this will help you become a better business owner,
Sure.
or you come on top.
It takes those, it takes those battle scars, if you will.
Yeah.
In order to be able to deal with that next one, because something's always going to happen.
Right.
Right. And so if you don't have any battle scars along the way, as far as some tough times, then you're not gonna know how to enjoy the good times.
That's right. That's right.
So,
You know, Randall, one thing I have always admired you about is you know when to cut off. Okay, so that brings up another topic we talk about. It's called self-care. Because I guarantee your audience here, me and Randall can work 24 hours a day.
yes.
We have that in us. If nobody came to tell us, you know what, now it's dinner time, now it's bedtime, we can work through all of that stuff. No problem, no question asked.
Sure.
So how did you come up with the I guess, did you have some like story that you can tell where, hey, you know what, I can't just work all the time. I need to take care of
Yes.
myself.
Hmm.
I need to take care of myself.
So I used to do 24/7 emergency work. So
Dang, it sounded pretty crazy.
so basically what that meant is like for some of the properties that we service, we would offer, hey, somebody's hot water heater blew up in the middle of the night. Hey, can you come out and get the water out of the carpet? You know, like emergency type work. And I had times, I think the very last call I went on that was at 2 o'clock in the morning.
How long ago was that?
It was a while ago.
Okay.
So it was 2 o'clock in the morning. I had to drive all the way from Topeka to Lawrence, which was about a 30-minute drive, but
Yeah.
you know, it's 2 o'clock in the morning.
Okay. Okay.
Downpouring, raining.
Dang.
Like it is just raining cats and dogs. I get there, I show up, I kid you not. It looked like somebody dumped a cup of water on the floor.
A cup of water?
A cup of water. Or maybe like a soda pop, a bottle of water.
Anyhow, okay.
So I got called out for an emergency call in the middle of the night. For that downpouring rain. I hooked all my hoses up and stuff. I had to run probably 200 foot of hose to get to the apartment that I was doing the job on. And it was raining so hard that the parking lot, I had water over my ankles.
Wow.
Rolling through the parking lot. I think we probably had like 6 or 7 inches of rain that night. And I was just right in the middle of it.
Mhm.
I'm sitting there, I was like, man, I hope nothing gets me in this water. 'Cause I'm sitting there rolling up my, hoses and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I'm cutting it off at 9 o'clock. I'm not going out at 2 o'clock in the morning anymore because at that point, you get home 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it was, and then you got to get up at 6, 7 o'clock in the morning and start your day over again.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point you're gonna wear yourself out.
Right.
And so what I did is I made a policy and I was like, you know what, we'll do after hour stuff, but after 9 o'clock, don't call me because I'm not going to come out and do it because I don't want to bother my guys either. I feel like they need to have downtime.
Yes.
From having that phone, like, hey, answer the phone.
Right. Right.
And what about you? I mean, how do you, have you had to deal with anything like that or?
Many of those things. Many of those things. I mean, I'm assuming we had a similar situations. And one particular example, I mean, it was a few years ago. I mean, usually in Kansas, January or February, would be the coldest time a year.
Sure.
And there was this house that we're supposed to close on a Friday afternoon. So the closing didn't happen. So the closing had to be pushed to next Monday. Guess what? The sellers shut off everything inside the house. Utility companies didn't know because they set up the shut off date. That was the date. So the buyer didn't, take over the house until next Monday. So they didn't transfer everything into their name. So the house sat empty in that cold snap for 2 days. It was stressful. It was stressful, but I kind of utilized what you mentioned that you control what you can't control. But it was really hard process for me to sleep through it.
Sure.
It was just like I was tossing and turning every single moment, when I was, because it was big property on the line. You have a lot of money on the line, and guess what? Turned out fine.
Good.
There's nothing,
no broken pipes.
nothing, no broken pipes and stuff like that. I mean,
Good.
so stuff like that happened multiple times, and then it kind of like that piece of muscle inside of my brain of handling or dealing with that situation
Sure.
just became stronger.
Yep.
Be like, hey, nothing I can do about it. I mean,
yeah,
worry is not going to help.
That's one of the things my business partner kind of driven to me is like, don't stress over the things you can't control.
Right. Okay. Well, thanks.
And I think that really went a long way for me.
Yeah.
Because it's like, and I still have to remind myself.
Yeah.
It's not like any of the stuff that we've talked about today. It's not like one morning you just wake up and you have it all.
No.
It's a constant learning you're going to progress on things. You're going to notice that better on some days at it than
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
And you're gonna find areas where you're a little bit weaker and, you know, and if there was anything, I would say, hey, if any of these mindset changes that we've talked about today,
Hmm.
if it's something that gets you thinking, man, I'm a little bit weak in that area, then I think we did our job.
Right.
You know, we're really trying to help everybody, like, hey, you know, nobody's gonna get it all 100% of the time.
No.
But if you surround yourself with like-minded individuals, you know, you don't want to surround yourself with folks that want to bring you down,
Right.
right?
Right.
You want to surround yourself with other like-minded business folks that are trying to get to that next level.
Hmm.
You know, that's why I like hanging out with you
For sure.
and the people in our groups that we're a part of,
Hmm.
because I feel like those types of individuals help bring you up. You get what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. I mean, you brought up a really good point. It's like, doing business is not just, I mean, you can do it on your own.
Yeah.
You can definitely do it on your own. There's a lot of lone wolves out there. There's a lot of people out there. You can do it, but if that's the path you choose to go down, I guarantee you is going to be a very lonely path.
Yeah.
But for me and Randall, what we believe is actually you want to do business with like-minded people and then group people, so you have the support system, not only the physical support, but also the emotional support,
Sure.
which at times they will be very valuable than some of the money they can dish out.
Yeah.
Or even business partners, because when you have like-minded people, they can see your situation, or they can look at your situation, through different lenses to give you that idea. But hey, look, why don't you think it this way? I mean, this might be something you should try.
Yep.
And that could have just changed your entire perspective. That could actually propel your business big time, just from somebody pointing one small thing out. That's one, right now, is part of, we're part of our teaching and speakers generosity network. So we meet with these business people on a weekly basis to kind of really see, what kind of support we're getting. That has been a big part of what we have accomplished.
Absolutely. And not only that, also be willing to share advice with other people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were talking about it probably a few days ago, you reap what you sow, or,
Yeah.
Sometimes there's somebody else you might need to take under your wing and be like, hey, I'm here for you. You
Yeah.
need some help?
Yeah.
You never know. You might just be that person that really just lifted that other individual back up.
Mm-hmm.
So
100%. 100%. Well, I mean, I would say, Randall, anything else you want to share with the audience? Maybe encourage them to do something, like one small step they can do, and to help them kind of do that mindset shift, I would say.
sure. The number one thing that you guys can do is watch this podcast.
You have watched so far.
So,
Thank you so much for your time here.
And if you stuck with it this long, we really do appreciate it. And I think that surround yourself with like-minded business professionals. Sometimes your competition can be a great resource.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's a really good topic, though. Let's dive into that.
We could dive into that too in another episode. But don't walk around with a big chip on your shoulder. Sometimes you have to humble yourself a little bit. But I would say take these steps that we talked about today and really evaluate yourself. Like write a checklist down and just ponder those things and start journaling a little bit about, how can I do this, or what was it like with that shift, or is my heart 100% in what I'm doing?
Mm-hmm. Which is very important.
It's absolutely important. Yeah. And for example, let's say that you want to start a business where you're dealing with the public, but you don't like dealing with the public.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that's not the business to get into.
Right.
Now, I'm not saying that you can't learn how to do it and be more proficient at what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but if it's something you really don't enjoy doing, but yet what you want to get into drives you to have to do that, you got a hard decision to make.
Yes.
Either you're going to have to learn how to deal, or maybe think a different avenue.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So, but I do think that what I'd really like to do is just encourage you to self-reflect a little bit. Going through this stuff has definitely made me do some self-reflection myself. And I mean, there's areas in this where I'm weaker and I'm stronger in other areas.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, what I like to do is, things like this help remind me of where do I need to be working on myself? And I would just ask you, like, if you enjoyed what you saw today, or or if you want to share some of your experiences, if you want to drop them in the comments.
Mhm.
So I'm never opposed to learning something from somebody else. You might have a different spin on it that I haven't heard about, or Chin,
Yes.
and I would love to hear your stories. And I think that, I would love that we could build this podcast around other like-minded business individuals, or those getting ready to go on their journey, and that we can network together a little bit. We can all learn from each other and help each other grow.
100%, 100%. Well, Randall, thank you so much for your time today.
Sure.
And then the audience, thank you so much for watching. And then we're going to keep doing this and coming up with different topics related to entrepreneurship and business ownership, mindset, just different pieces that will help you get onto the next level. By no means we're big business owners, but we do have a lot of interactions with people, business owners from different levels.
Sure.
And I just hope that if you guys find maybe 5 seconds of this video helpful, and that will have achieved our goal today.
Yeah, I
So-
think so too.
So stay tuned, guys. I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Yep, thank you. And don't forget to like the video and share it with your friends, and don't forget to drop some comments in there. If you guys got questions, put them down there, and we'll try to answer them next time.
Yes, and I will put our business links in the description as well, so you guys
Yeah.
can reach out to us personally if you want to. So,
Sounds good.
all right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.